Hello. In this video, we will take a look at a very important extension of the full factorial design. We call it the fractional factorial design. Sometimes we have to explore several factors and we may not have the resources or the time to conduct the entire full factorial design. We may be able to do only a fraction of the original full factorial design, and yet we want to do it in a way such that we get all the necessary and important information about the system or process that we are trying to understand. So what is fractional factorial design? What are good procedures to conduct good factorial designs? That will be the goal of this particular video. Now, we all know about this thing called the full factorial design. In fact, the most basic design we have looked at is what is called the 2 to the power of k design. We have k input factors that we are exploring, and these k factors are supposed to have an effect on the output variable y. So if you have k factors and if we are investigating each factor at two levels, we are going to have a total of 2 to the power of k experiments, from which we can identify the important terms in the model, get the estimates of the parameters, etc. All right. But the problem with a full factorial design, or let's say the 2 to the power of k design, is that the number of experimental runs increases rapidly as k increases. Right? It is exponential in that sense, right? Because it is 2 to the power of k. So when you have two factors, you have 4 experiments. When you have 3 factors, we have to do 8 experiments. And if you have 6 factors, you will have to do 64 experiments, and 7 factors, you have 128 experiments, and so on. So that constitutes a lot of experiments if we want to find out what are the most optimal conditions in the 7 variable space, or if we need to find out what are the important factors amongst the 7 variables, etc. So for example, if you have k is equal to 6, if you have 6 factors, then the 2 to the power of k design will require 2 to the power of 6, which is equal to 64 runs. So we can estimate the 6 main effects: the effect of x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, x6. We can find out the effects of the various two-factor interactions. In fact, there will be 15 two-factor interactions, such as x1 times x2, x1 times x3, all the way till x1 times x6. Then you have x2 times x3, x2 times x4, x2 times x5, x2 times x6, and so on until we come to x5 times x6. So you have 6 C2 combinations, which will be equal to 15. Then from the 64 runs from the full factorial design for a system involving 6 factors, we can also estimate the other higher order interactions. For example, we will have 42 3-factor or higher order interactions in the system. To be precise, we will have 20 3-factor interactions, 15 4-factor interactions, 6 5-factor interactions, and 1 6-factor interaction. An example of a 3-factor interaction would be x1 times x3 times x4. You will have 20 such possibilities because 6 choose 3 will be equal to 20. Now, an example of a 4-factor interaction would be x3 times x4 times x5 times x6. You will have 15 of them because we have 6C4. 6 choose 4, right? We have 6 factors, you choose 4 factors for interaction purposes, right? So you'll have 15 such combinations: x1, x2, x3, x4, x1, x3, x4, x5, etc. You can count a total of 15 of them, and so on. Now, if you look at it, 6 plus 15 two-factor interactions plus 42 higher order interactions, if you add them up, you will get 63. And together with the constant term in the model, you can kind of estimate the 64 parameters, the constant term plus the 6 parameters associated with the linear terms, the 20 parameters associated with the 3-factor interaction terms, and so on until we get the parameter that corresponds to the 6-factor interaction: x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, x6. So you can estimate all the 64 parameters if you want to using 64 runs. But interestingly, the point is all the higher order effects may not be as important. In fact, in most systems, third and higher order interaction terms are not that important. All right. So we do not need, even though we have six factors, that is something we cannot change. We know the six factors can affect the outcome Y. So that is a given. Unless after the experiment you might say, well, actually X5 was not an important factor. That you can say post-experimentation phase. But the time you're kind of just brainstorming and planning your experimental design, you might think all the six factors are going to be important one way or the other. So you cannot change the fact that we have to deal with six factors. But what is often found in practice is not all the higher order interactions, specifically not all the third order and higher order effects are important in many systems. So what you can do is you can exploit that idea. And if you look at it, people can argue that only the six main effects and 15 two-factor interactions are important. And along with the constant term, we need to estimate only 22 parameters in the system, right? So we do not need these 64 runs. We may be doing a good job with, let's say, 32 runs, one half of 2 to the power of 6, right? So it is fractional factorial and the factor here is half. So you can do a good job of making a model and understanding the system, which has six input factors. You can understand most of it or almost completely with just 32 experimental runs. So half of 64, half of 2 to the power of 6 would be enough, right? To really understand the problem, because many of the higher order interactions are not that important. So that is the most key idea in doing fractional factorial experiments, because this is what people have found in practice. In most situations, this holds. All right. And therefore, we can exploit this nature of systems to do lesser than 64 experimental runs. So we need not have to do, in this case, 2 to the power of 6 experiments in order to understand the process almost fully. We can do half of this, right? So that's why it is called fractional, right? Half fraction of the full 2 to the power of 6 experiments in order to understand almost completely about the process. We can afford to ignore, or we can afford to poorly estimate the three factor and other higher order interactions. So we can sacrifice some of the parameters. So that is what leads to this idea of fractional factorial design. Now, fractional factorials are very useful for screening experiments in the early stages of a project, right? So what you may want to do is you may want to do what is called a screening design or screening experiments, where there are too many factors at that stage. People are still not convinced how many input factors should be chosen for a particular problem. So there may be a lot of candidates, input variables as candidates at that time, right? So what they will do is, instead of running a full experimental campaign involving all those factors that are possibly relevant, let's say at the start there are 15 factors that are known to affect Y. So X1, X2, X3, X4, all the way till X15, right? X2 all the way till X15 are believed to affect the output Y. So this is the stage where we start. So now people will say, if I have to do a full 2 to the power of 15 experiments, each factor tested at 2 levels, that is going to be too expensive, right? You may not have the time or the experimental resources for that. Now, people are not willing to shed some of these X variables because one engineer says this factor is important, another person says that is important, the operator says this is important, and so on. So it's very, very difficult to ask people to remove some of these variables, right? So let's say we have 15 factors, and we are not in a position to do 2 to the power of 15 experiments. So what they might do is they might do a fraction, let's say 1 by 2 to the power of 7 times 2 to the power of 15 experiments. This is a full factorial design. They will do 1 by 1/28 of that, right? So they'll do 1 by 1/28 of this full factorial design, which is something like 2 to the power of 8 So they will just conduct 256 experiments, for example. Even that seems like a lot, but just for illustration purposes, they might do 256 experiments to find out amongst these 15 factors which are the really important effects, right? So that is what this means. So early stages of a project, you may have too many input factors to consider. So instead of doing a full factorial design to satisfy everybody, a good middle ground is to do a fractional factorial. So you do 1 by 1/28 of a full factorial design. And from those 256 experiments, you would be able to identify the key factors that contribute large effects on the output Y. So the factors that are found to be important are then, right, can then be investigated more thoroughly in subsequent experiments. Let's say from these 15, you have X2, X7, X13, and X15 to be the most important. So what you do is, now you can do a full 2 to the power of k, 2 to the power of 4 now, right? 2 to the power of 4 experiments, maybe with replicates, so that you understand what influences Y to the largest extent, right? And then you'll be able to satisfy customer demand for certain product quality, etc. So from 15 to 4, how do you come up with that? Fractional factorial designs are extremely useful for that purpose. Now, the success of fractional factorials has largely been to what we discussed before, which is called the sparsity of effects principle, right? While with many factors being there, the process, however, is driven only by some of the main effects and second order interactions. So you don't have higher order interactions. In fact, all the input variables may not have a main effect. Main effect means linear effect on the output. Not all second order interactions themselves may be important. All right. So this is what is called the sparsity of effects principle. Not all the effects we think of, direct effects, second order effects, third order effects, fourth order effects, etc., are going to be really important. Only a few of them affect the output Y. All right. And generally the idea is third order interactions and higher order interactions are not going to be that important. They are not going to affect Y as much. So that is one thing. The second reason is what is called a projection property. So you can take a fractional factorial design and you can project it into stronger designs in the subset of significant factors. So a fractional factorial design can become a full factorial design in a subset of factors. Okay, the idea is fractional factorial design involving, let's say, 3x factors. So we are doing, let's say, half of 2 to the power of 3, right? So this is the full factorial design. If you have 3 factors, 2 to the power of 3 design is a full 2-level design. And then let's say we conduct only half of that. That means you're doing basically 4 experiments. This 4 experiments will be a full, factorial design in a space involving just 2 of the 3 input factors. This is what we mean by the projection property. The other thing is sequential experimentation. You can take 2 fractional factorials or more, but 2 or more fractional factorials, and you can combine them to get a larger design, right? So basically it allows you to merge several factorial designs to get a larger design. So the second one talked about going from more variables to a full design in lesser variables. So this is going one way. This is the other way. Let's say you do several fractional factorials. What you can do is you can combine them into a full factorial in a higher dimension. For example, if you have 2 half factorials in 3 variables, you would be able to combine them into a single full factorial in 3 variables. That is what it means. So these and this go in the opposite direction. So these are some of the reasons why the fractional factorial design is highly successful. We will catch up in the next video.